approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any questions or changes to the agenda for this evening? No. All right, hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Schwalbe. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Van Looy. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes and the agenda is approved. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which consists of one item, which is the meeting minutes from February 23rd, 2026, excuse me, which was our last meeting. Does anybody, Commissioner, have any questions or comments on the meeting minutes from February 23rd?
No.
May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Planton. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Ankeny. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes and the consent agenda is approved. Next on the agenda tonight is old business, which is a recommendation for amendment to the Planning Commission bylaws. Director Sharp.
Thank you, Chair. Real quick, I want to make sure that our Teams meeting is up and running as we should be good to go. So apologies. Thank you for your time. As mentioned, this is a proposal to potentially amend the Planning Commission bylaws. You'd previously met on this item and discussed it on, trying to flip to the page for you, apologies. On February 23rd, 2026, the Planning Commission met, discussed the recommendation and potential amendments to the bylaws. They directed staff at that time to come back with amended bylaws, which are attached for the Commission's review. It is a markup copy that you have. Want to highlight a couple of the pieces that the Commission had really emphasized and spoke about. Primarily that this would be the only committee right now that needs to attend city council meetings on a regular basis and discuss the requirement that planning commissioners still stay involved, but that perhaps that requirement be dropped from the bylaws. And then the other major portion of it was discussing kind of the report that planning commissioners used to do and the fact that that hasn't occurred in several years. And so whether the continued attendance had applicability. If you've got further questions on it, happy to elaborate. As staff was reviewing the bylaws, we did have a number of other items that were more cleanup in nature that were added to this. Things such as removal of the ordinance number that adopted the Planning Commission to order. It didn't actually occur by ordinance, so we have the date, we have the motion, but removing that provision, some outdated bylaw pieces, and then formatting and additional corrections. The other real substantive area was specifically relating to the recordings of the meetings and the notations of the meetings. But as long as we're amending bylaws, it felt like a good time to bring things forward. A copy of the bylaws and the principal items for correction are attached for your review, and page 19 of the packet has the real substantive items that the Planning Commission went through, specifically in paragraph 3.6. That would outline the change that planning commissioners are no longer required to attend city council meetings. They are responsible for still maintaining knowledge of planning commission items and pertinent issues reviewed before the planning commission. And I would say lightly encourages still attending as you're able on specific items that you would like to attend. With that, if there are any questions, I can answer what your next steps would be as well. Our recommended action this evening would be to recommend an amendment to the bylaws to City Council, and I've got that action when you're ready for discussion.
Thank you, Director Sharp. Questions? Comments?
I read through and thought they captured our conversation well.
What he just read is exactly what I remember from that meeting, and I don't see any reason not to go ahead and recommend that.
Cool. All right.
Okay, then for the commission's knowledge, we would bring this forward at a future city council meeting, and they would discuss it before this could be officially adopted. So I will send out a message to you when we plan to bring it to a council meeting beforehand so that you're aware. I would encourage, as you designated last time, that the chair attend to present on this request directly to City Council.
Hey, Chair, if we could just have a motion on that, I'd appreciate it. And your motion could just be that the Planning Commission would recommend the
Sure.
bylaw amendments as presented to the City Council.
Yeah.
We have that in the record. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'd like to make a motion to recommend the amendment to the Planning Commission bylaws to City Council as presented in the packet this evening. I have a second.
that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Elk. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, the motion passes. The recommendation will be made to City Council. Cool. Thank you, City Attorney Schelzel and Director Sharp. Next on the agenda is we have one public hearing item tonight, which is a CUP for 2 golf course-related improvements at Woodhill Country Club. So is it Director Sharp, Planner Head Bloom?
Thank you, Chair. Planner Hedblum will be presenting on this item.
Awesome. And welcome back, by the way.
Thank you. Oh, I don't know if my button works.
Really?
No, can you just,
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll make do with your computer. Oh, what? I turned it on. I guess we'll blame that on me not being here for a while. Okay, our application tonight is a CUP to construct 2 golf course-related improvement projects at Woodhill Country Club. The project location is 200 Woodhill Road. Here's a map of the project location. So Woodhill Country Club is on the northwestern section of the city. It's 3 parcels that are within the city of Wayzata. The property as a whole that Woodhill owns is comprised of parcels that are within the city of Wayzata's limits and then also the city of Orono. These are the 3 parcels that are related to the application tonight, and then the only 3 parcels of their property within our city limits. So they have 2 project locations. The first is near their clubhouse and tennis courts. So that's number 1. It's on that top parcel or northern parcel. And then the second project location is on what's labeled here as parcel 3, the eastern side of their property within the city, near the railroad. The guiding and land use for the property is guided as semi-public private. And the current zoning of the property is R1, which is a residential district. Details on the application is that they have applied for a conditional use permit to allow the construction of 2 golf course-related improvement projects. Those projects include a pavilion structure with minor electrical service for convenience outlets, and then a satellite convenience station or restroom on the golf course served by private septic and water utilities. The applicable code sections are related to Chapter 937.02. That is the use table that identifies the different uses that are listed as permitted or conditional uses within the zoning districts. Recreation outdoor commercial, which applies broadly to golf courses and their accessory uses, is listed as a conditional use within the R1 zoning district. So the existing principal land use, which is a golf course or country club, likely predates our zoning code. So we don't have a conditional use permit for the entire property for the use that is currently in place. So any expansion or change of that use requires a conditional use permit. This is just a note on future or similar development within this property. Woodhill Country Club has indicated to staff that they have, they're forming kind of a master plan or list of future improvement projects that they'd like to tackle over the next several years. Any type of expansion on their use or new structure is going to likely require a conditional use permit or other types of approvals. So city staff has communicated with Woodhill that we would like to work with them on bringing forward a master plan that allows us to kind of group things together and expedite approvals for them. All of that will depend on what they want to do and how that comes forward, but we just wanted to make a note on it that we know you may see additional items from this applicant in the future. So I broke our presentation tonight down between the two different projects. We'll start with the pavilion. This is a rendering provided by the applicant of the proposed pavilion. It's an open-air structure. It's made with composite decking, siding, some metal mesh railings, and then also some planter boxes around the side. It is approximately 1,000 square feet. It's meant to be a viewing platform for their tennis courts and racket courts nearby. It's approximately 14 feet tall. There will be no plumbing and very minor electrical service routed to the pavilion. The project does include removal of 4 parking stalls and some new concrete sidewalk. The impervious surface that will be added is not a concern towards the limits on the property. The proposed site, this is just a zoomed-in aerial of the location of the pavilion. So as you can see, it's located on the southern corner of that parking lot there and kind of mixed in between the different sports courts. Here's a site plan provided by the applicant showing the proposed shelter and then also the additional sidewalk and the removed parking stalls. And these are elevations of the proposed structure that have more material detail as well. Getting into the convenience station, so this is the second project requiring, or that would be under the conditional use permit that they've applied for tonight. This is a satellite convenience station adjacent to T-Box Hole 5. Sorry, I'm not a golfer. It's a small structure, approximately 230 square feet. It's going to include a unisex restroom and then a refreshment station for beverages and water refill. Utilities for this structure will include electrical service, private well water, and then a private septic system. And the applicant has stated that the structure will not be used in colder months. There's no mechanical system proposed with this structure. The water lines are planned to be purged in the fall and just close up shop for the winter along with the golf course. So this is an aerial identifying where on the site that approximately is. This is identified as an approximate location because the architect has determined that they will do final siting during construction. But this is where they've indicated that it will approximately be located. And then this is an aerial that the applicant provided to us, just showing us where the proposed water line is coming from. So their well and pump house is actually located within the city of Orono and will be servicing across their property and coming east and then north to this proposed building. You'll see another proposed building at the bottom of this drawing. That is a similar convenience station that is being proposed, but it is within the city limits of Orono. So they are also reviewing a similar application there. Here is a zoomed-in site plan of the convenience structure, and then also you can see the proposed location of the septic system. And here's a sketch of the details related to the septic plan. The applicant also provided a management plan and additional details that were included in the staff report and your packet tonight. This is the interior floor plan of that structure. So as you can see, the small restroom on one end and then another interior space with counters, beverage station, sink, and then a service window under an awning. Here are elevation drawings showing where the different or structure features are. So the windows, the doors, there's also additional materials called out for that project that we'll get into. It's difficult to read from this slide. I'm going to pass this before we get into the details on design deviations back to Director Sharp. He does have some policy level related items to talk through before we get into the specifics for this application.
Thank you. So first, I want to highlight that for this evening, the commission is reviewing this application and these design standards. We don't have current provisions that would allow for an exemption. However, what I wanted to highlight for the commission is that quite a few of our design standards apply to bigger structures, and it's very clear that they're intended to. So things such as distance from window to interior wall don't apply to a structure of this nature. It also meant that the applicant couldn't necessarily be aware upon their initial application that they needed to apply for design deviations because that scale is not in kind with a structure of this size. So we've worked with the applicant to be able to amend that, bring that forward. We're comfortable with where things are at. However, we are going to ask the commission review these design deviations because there aren't current exemptions that staff could find within the design code just because the structure was smaller. What we'll be evaluating from your comments this evening and city council comments is whether staff recommends at a later date to be determined and not to do with this application, whether we include some recommendations for potential exemptions for structures that are clearly not intended. And there are some already included within the design standards, but we may need to make them a little bit more robust or push them more towards the minor deviation where they're administrative and don't require an application. In this instance, we had a conditional use permit application that needed to come forward anyway, so it felt proper to bring it forward, make sure they have their approvals on the books, there isn't any issue with what they brought it forward, and then as a city issue, potentially talk about those future items. So for your discussion this evening, we will not be looking at you to, or looking for you to discuss those items, but it may be, your discussion will help guide me as I move forward, as will city council's discussion on whether staff tries to bring something like that forward. With that, I'll defer back to Planner Headblooms as she will go through the actual review of the application. If there are any questions though on that item, I would open it up now as well.
Can I ask a question?
Commissioner Severson.
So it says the pavilion doesn't meet the applicability requirements. What are those requirements and how do they not meet it? Or is that what, she's going to go through that right now?
Haley's going to go through a lot more of those details right
Okay.
now. But pavilion without walls was one of the harder things to evaluate on a design standard requirement. So that's where that one really doesn't come in, and then she'll answer a little bit more on that.
Thanks, Director Sharp. So that was part of the difficulty evaluating writing the staff report and trying to evaluate the design standards with this proposal. We were able to determine our code does define what a building is. So we were able to deem the pavilion as not applicable because it is not a building because of it being an open air structure. So the more broadly, the design standards apply to all development within the city that has a non-residential and or multifamily component and involves any of the activities listed in 90904B. I did not outline those for you in our presentation tonight just because it's not worth going through that at this time in the details related to this application. But one of those requirements is that one of those activities listed in that section is that it's a new building construction. And that is where the convenience station meets the requirements that it needs to be evaluated within the design standards because it is a non-residential new building construction regardless of its size. So the applicable code sections is going to be the whole chapter of the design standards. I did pull out the guiding principles or the guiding, I can't remember what code says, but the guiding goals or purpose behind the standards. And I do want to review those. I will read them out for you because that will be part of your evaluation or consideration for these deviations for your recommendation. So the first is to guide the expansion and renovation of existing structures and the construction of new buildings and parking within the commercial districts of the city. Second is to assist the city in reviewing the development proposals. And the third is to improve the city's public spaces, including its streets, sidewalks, walkways, streetscape, and landscape treatments.
Can I ask a question? So, point number one, guide the expansion and renovation of existing structures and the construction of new buildings and parking within the commercial districts of the city. This isn't a commercial district. It's zoned R1, which is a residential district.
Correct, but it is still a non-residential type building construction. So because it's non-residential and/or has a multifamily component, it doesn't fall under new building construction for residential, and therefore it needs to be considered under the design standards.
Okay. It just seems, I mean, it seems like it's very administrative and,
Chair, we don't disagree. Staff was looking for as many ways as we could to try to exempt the structure from the design standards, including when we hit this provision going into, okay, can we do it administratively through minor deviations? We didn't even want to require them to have to submit the full design standards that you would for a larger structure. So ultimately, for this application, it's more prudent to leave it in, make sure they get their approvals, they can move forward, and then if we need to revise or tweak language at a later date, then we can do so. But we don't need to figure that out this evening, thankfully. For this application, we can go through these items. If they need to be included, we've got the provisions and we went through them for the Planning Commission and got your recommendation.
good enough. Sorry, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Okay, so there are three design deviations that we were able to identify in our evaluation for the convenience structure. So I'm going to go through those three. Two of them would fall under the category of significant deviations, and one would fall under the category of a minor deviation. Significant deviations are the types of deviations that need to be evaluated by Planning Commission and ultimately City Council. Minor deviations can be approved administratively by staff. I did include the minor deviation tonight just for the purposes of our discussion in a broader sense, for bringing this type of conversation forward at a future date. So the two primary design deviations will be the significant ones. The first being the unobstructed depth of the required glazing on the building, and the closest parallel interior wall should be at least 10 feet. Based on the floor plans of this structure, that first window on the western side is only about 8 feet from the next interior closest wall. Again, that's just going to come down to this size of structure and what those design standards were created for in terms of larger buildings or larger developments. So that's our first one. Our second one has to do with building materials and quality that are outlined in the design standards. 909-14-3B through C have provisions related to the building base. So again, this is meant for, or at least in my interpretation, written for larger buildings that are much taller than 14 feet tall. So our code requires that a building base should extend 2 to 3 feet in height above ground level, and it should also be composed of masonry materials. This building, again, I put some details in this note here. The building has an approximate total height measured from grade to the top of roof pitch of less than 11 feet. And the facade between the base of the structure and the roof is less than 9 feet. We can go back and look at the elevations if you'd like to, but staff was able to determine that the foundation that's included with this structure is standard and proportional to what's being proposed. And it's worth also noting that the proposed siding exterior for the facade is otherwise meeting the requirements of the design standards. So that's our second significant. And then third, just kind of as an additional note, there was a minor design deviation noted within their application related to main floor entrance doors and what type of glazing or materials those could be made out of. So based on the plans that were submitted, the proposed doors to this structure are going to be solid material that makes sense with the nature of it being a restroom. And they are shown as having decorative panel features. So for that reason, we were able to determine that that would likely be categorized as a minor design deviation and would ordinarily be able to be approved administratively by staff. Okay, so zooming out a little bit back to the overarching CUP consideration for both structures on the property. These are staff comments received from the engineering department and then also our city forester. Engineering mostly has comments related to various permits related to what's being proposed. That's included for you here and was also included in your staff report. And then the city forester noted that this type of property, golf courses, are exempt from our tree preservation ordinance. But we would recommend that the applicant work with a qualified arborist to determine protection plans for trees that they intend to preserve related to this application or in general. Neighborhood notification and public comments. The applicant sent out their notification with additional information on April 8th. The city also sent our letter notifying residents within 500 feet on the 8th. There was public notice also published in the Sun Sailor on the 9th, I believe. There was not a neighborhood meeting required for a conditional use permit request or proposal. And to date of this meeting, there were no public comments received related to the application. So here I have outlined the conditional use permit criteria for evaluating this type of request. These are pulled from code. If you'd like me to read through them for you, I can, but I know that we've had similar type requests for conditional use permits within recent memory, so I'm going to skip forward to the review of design deviations, since this is a little bit less common of an item to go through for Planning Commission. So significant deviations are departures from the standards that do not qualify as minor deviations. Approval requires a finding that one or more particular factors outweigh any potential negative impact. So the Planning Commission and City Council should evaluate the following. Is the negative impact of the deviation or potential negative impact of the deviation outweighed by one or more of the following positive impacts? One would be the extent of the project, the extent in which the project advances policies and provisions of the city's comp plan. Two would be the extent the deviation permits greater conformity with the other design standards and the guidance and policies behind the standards or with other zoning ordinance standards. Another would be the positive effect of the project on the area in which the project is being proposed. 4, the alleviation of an undue burden, taking into account current leasing, housing, commercial conditions. 5, the accommodation of future possible uses contemplated by the zoning ordinance or the comp plan. 6, a national, state, or local historic designation. And 7, the project is the remodeling of an existing building which largely conforms to the design standards. So all of those potential impacts are pulled directly from code, which again is why some of them may seem like they're totally out of left field related to this application. The proposed conditions, if Planning Commission seeks to provide a recommendation of approval on this application tonight, staff recommends the following conditions are also included. That would be that the applicant will also apply for and receive all pertinent permits related to the project from various organizations and entities necessary prior to construction. And the second would be that the applicant meet the conditions outlined by the city engineer. So the proposed actions or requested actions of the commission tonight would be to first hold the public hearing related to this application, and then ultimately direct staff to prepare a draft Planning Commission report and recommendation of either approval or denial with appropriate findings. I can answer any questions that you have. Otherwise, I know our applicant is here tonight and has some materials to present as well.
Questions for staff?
The only question I had, I was interested that there's still within city limits that sewer systems are being installed, or mound systems are being installed. Apparently, that's the Hennepin County, it sounded like it was a Hennepin County deal based on your presentation, but I just thought I'd make sure I understood that correctly.
Chair Cameron, Commissioner, that is correct. There are very limited sites within the community that are still on well and septic. Those sites are all managed by Hennepin County for both the well and septic permits in terms of their overall review and then ongoing maintenance and checking requirements. As time goes on, if city sewer and water is available, we've often required that sites connect. This is not one of those that would likely be applicable for that. It may eventually need to, but we would need to work with the city of Orono on this site and would be a much more significant project than what this application entails.
Thank you.
Cool. Anybody else? All right. Thank you. May come back to you after the applicant. I'd now like to invite the applicant to come forward. Please step up to the podium and introduce yourself. And see what you have to say.
Sure. Thank you very much. My name is Matt Byers. I'm the managing principal at Plaid. We're the architect that is representing Woodhill Country Club, and planner Hedblum, thank you very much for that. The presentation that oh, thank you. Could you load that up? Thank you. Oh, no, that's okay. I'm really not going to be going through anything more than just showing some additional renderings for context. So this is the first one. This would be the T-Box 5 convenience station, and I'm just going to flip through since Planner Hedblum already went through all of this. Just some additional renderings to show context and scale. As you can see, it is quite limited in scope, and I appreciate the understanding that not all the design standards necessarily apply to a structure of this size. But we do agree that it's handsome and in keeping with the existing structures that are already at Wayzata, or excuse me, at Woodhill. And if you wouldn't mind going to the next PDF, unless there are questions about this one in particular. Likewise, I'm going to fast forward here. Just showing some additional renderings for context, again, and scale. It is open air, exposed structure, and very limited electrical service for convenience. So thought that might be helpful in the discussion. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions for the applicant?
I have a question.
Sure.
Is this an 18-hole golf course?
Yes.
Okay. And how many convenience stations do you already have?
I'm looking at Mr. Edmondson here. I think that's 0, correct?
Well, we currently have one in its current state, but yeah, nothing like this. It's more of a smaller scale compostable unit.
And what hole is the other convenience station on?
Our current is between,
I'm sorry, Brian. We won't pick up any of that, and we should have it on video, so thank you.
we currently have one convenience station on course. It's a very small scale, rudimentary near our hole 3 and 4 location.
Near 3 and 4, and this is going to be on 5?
5T, yes, ma'am. That existing one will no longer be there. It doesn't fit the needs. It's very, very old and, yeah, outdated.
You don't have any on the back?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else?
No.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your coming this evening. All right. Well, now I would like to turn to the public hearing. Public hearing is time for us to listen to members of our community for the requests that we're considering. Questions asked during the public hearing will be held until the end and may be addressed at that point. So with that said, I now open the public hearing. Director Sharp, do we have anybody online?
Chair, not at this time.
All right. Do we have any members here that would like to come forward and speak? All right. Well, I will now close the public hearing. All right, commissioners, questions for the applicant or staff about anything that's been raised?
Can I ask one clarifying question?
Absolutely.
Okay. So when you were going through the design, the significant standards, I think it was 7 or 8 feet, but if it were 10 feet, so if the structure were bigger, would it actually meet design standards? I just wanted to clarify that.
Chair and Commissioner Severson, I don't want to say that it would meet the standards if it were bigger, because we didn't have anything to concretely evaluate. So based on what was presented, it doesn't currently meet the standards. If it were bigger and it had 10 feet between a window and the next parallel interior wall, it would meet the standards in that particular case. Yeah.
Okay, I just was, so if it was bigger, we wouldn't even be talking about that particular.
Correct, that particular one, as long as there wasn't a wall within 10 feet of a required opening or window glazing.
Okay.
Chair Cameron, Commissioner, it would still require the deviation for the wainscoting. That has been required on Walzer, it was required on the Retreat, it was required on several recent applications. So that one, it would still be applicable,
Yeah.
even if the structure were larger. And if it were larger, it might apply to additional design standards too.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Major deviation 2, I actually have a question for one of you two gentlemen. Is it slab with frost footing? Is that what's going on? It's just stick framing?
Yes, that is correct, Commissioner.
Okay. It's just like, I don't know. I struggle with, right, like, it seems like something that shouldn't even, kind of like the whole wall thing, right? It's like a tiny little building, and here we are. You guys have had to prepare for this and take your time to do this, and it just, I don't know. It just seems like should be a better way to do something like this. So thank you. That was my question. Anybody else? All right, discussion.
If we go back to the design deviation questions, I think that to answer this question, in my opinion, the number 3, that the positive effect on this project, on the area in which it was proposed, would outweigh any negative impact. So I think we can check the box, in my opinion, in terms of the design standard deviations.
Commissioner Van Looy, I was going to agree. I was going to say kind of very simply that I recommend approval of both the significant design deviations as well as the minor one, and for that reason of number 3.
I also think number 4 does. It is kind of an undue burden because our design standards don't apply to buildings of this size particularly well. And so I think 4 is another one that provides that.
Yeah, and I think, so as for the CUP, right, that's what's up on screen here. For sure, I think it's totally consistent with the comprehensive plan. I mean, it's a golf course, and it doesn't seem to be, it's been around for a long time. It's not going anywhere, right? It's, in that way, it's very compatible with the area that it's around. I note that it met all of the code requirements. They had setback off the property line. There's nothing around it to affect from a property value perspective because it's adjacent to the railroad. If anything, right, I think it's probably going to be a nice addition to their golf course, combined with what they're doing on hole 14 in Orono. And it's got no impacts on traffic because it's far away from a road, and it's all served by private services. So I did note one of my own mind when I saw that water line and the length of that water line coming from your pump house, and I was like, that's a long line, right, to have to drain in the winter or in the fall, but right, that's private services. So
My mind went to the fact that if you have any golfers like me, I likely will be on top of that mound going back to the 4th green.
So yeah, I don't see any reason not to approve, not to recommend approval on the CUP as well.
And I agree with you.
All right. Motion to, I'd like to make a motion to recommend, to prepare a draft planning commission report and recommendation of approval for the CUP and the design deviation variances, both major and minor, for consideration at our next meeting, with the conditions outlined on screen also included in it to contain the applicant applying for and receiving the pertinent permits and meeting all conditions laid out by the city engineer.
And I second that.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Schwalbe. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, the motion passes, and the draft report recommendation will be on our consent agenda in our next meeting in 2 weeks. Thank you for coming, gentlemen, appreciate your time. Next item on our agenda this evening is other items. Director Sharp or Planner Hedblum? Which one of you is taking?
That'll be me, Chair.
All right.
So we have kind of started to come out of our lull. We received, I don't have full details on all of them yet. I'm still playing a little bit of catch up from being out last week, but we received 5 more building permit applications last week alone. We were in a lull through the end of last year through right now. One of the more significant items of note, though, is that the Wells Fargo site will likely be issuing CO here in early spring to early summer, or late spring to early summer here. So they will actually be able to have the apartments occupied in the very near future. The townhomes will lag behind, likely to that midsummer timeframe that they were sharing previously, but they've had enough time to be able to get interior work done on those apartments. So you'll start seeing now leasing signs and additional activity. Full site cleanup is still scheduled towards fall with everything taking effect, all plantings and other items being in place. So that'll be the most significant one that you'll note. The city is still working with the owner on 200 Lake to bring forward that project. There's still ongoing items that need to be discussed on that one. However, the city is going to be working with the applicant to try to address some of the code issues with it, principally making the site secured and working with them to further enhance some of the visual side of things. So that the commission is aware, the city did receive authorization to submit a grant to the Department of Employment and Economic Development for about $1.1 million to clean up contamination on that site. If awarded, that would allow things to move forward. I think that would be the impetus for them to move forward faster. They've already received a $200,000 grant from Hennepin County for cleanup on that site. So it's a benefit for the city if that site gets cleaned up, regardless of whether that proposed and approved development were to come forward or not. With that, I'll present a little bit more at the next one when I'm a little bit caught up on what some of those development applications are. But as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly.
So those cleanup grants, that be done to the property by somebody on behalf of the property owner?
The applicant would be the property owner. I'm sorry, the applicant's the state for one of them and the city for one of them and the owner for the other. They would contract with somebody to do that work. That has to be a third-party firm. It's Landmark Environmental in this case. They're a certified firm that then needs to submit the reports of the cleanup, what happened with it, to the MPCA. The MPCA signs off on that. Then they submit it to the city showing that they've done that. We submit it to DEED. DEED sends the money to the state or to the city if awarded, and then we would send it back to the applicant.
Got it, okay.
Can I ask, is this, I know we've gone and it went through litigation and the judge sided with us. Are they appealing or they're just waiting to develop? What is, I noticed in the last city council that somebody stood up and was asking for the city and the developer to get together. What is the holdup now with the developer?
Chair
waiting
Cameron,
for us?
Commissioner, they have appealed the decision by the
Oh,
court.
okay.
So it is in active litigation currently.
Okay.
Can't provide timelines or any further
No,
details than that.
I just was wondering what,
Yep. So that's the status of where the project is currently. However, the deed grant or a demolition permit for the building, the property owner has been hesitant to submit for that, but could come forward in advance of that final application. The approvals that came forward are PUD general plans, so similar to Walzer is an example. They've received their approvals for a PUD concept and general plan, but they need to bring a final plan forward, which is on the city council agenda for tomorrow night. Lake West or 4200 Lake has not yet applied for their final PUD plan. So they would need to do that prior to their project being able to move forward.
And is there any enforceable way we can encourage them to keep that property safe and while it's going through litigation?
Chair Cameron, that is what I was alluding to with saying that we are trying to work with the applicant
Oh.
for additional activities and cleaning up of the site.
Got it.
So we're working on partnership
Thank
with
you.
them with that to try to enhance that a little bit more, as we have heard regular comments on that. I was trying to bring it up proactively as we will be working towards that end in the ways that we are able to. And we are determining what those are, and we will do what we are able.
Thank you.
Well, my question was right about that line of reasoning as well, and that is, the building becomes more and more vandalized on a regular basis. It's almost shocking, even month to month, how much it changes. And I worry about liability. I imagine that's with the owner of the property. But do we, just because we're a good city, send our police by there regularly and hopefully disrupt anything that's going on?
Chair, Commission, yes. The specifics of that, I would encourage us to discuss outside of Planning Commission hours. We can speak with the police chief. We've done a number of activities. They do go by, but, and they are working actively with the property owner. The large piece that we'd worked on prior to winter was securing the site. That was the boards that you saw go up. So we do understand there are activities going on. Wanted to be proactive about making sure that I addressed it because I know that it came up at the last city council as well. However, the code enforcement and security of the site is something that the city staff are working on with our police chief to make sure that we develop a plan and with the guidance of our city attorney.
Okay, thank you.
One question for me, just, I know we've kind of talked roundly about it. Is there some work underway just around Lake Street retail as well?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, City Council has not designated that staff should create a subcommittee or anything yet. We do have it on a workshop agenda for, I believe, late May is when it's scheduled to go to City Council for them to start directing staff on where they want us to start working on that and how much should that be tied in with comp plan, how should that be different. Some of the additional questions will be, do we do a study area of Lake Street versus Pres Homes in that area, as those are two different fundamentally areas? Do we then extend that to Wayzata Boulevard, or is the Wayzata Boulevard not the area of concern? And so those are the things that staff needs to determine with council direction at a future date, but the time has been tentatively scheduled for that second meeting in May, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
One question I have is, I don't know the address, where the Caribou used to be on Lake Street. That seems to be being built out now. I think that last time it wasn't quite an understanding of what it was going to be there.
The Cares Building?
Yep.
Thank you.
Chair, I think that's 600 Lake Street. And we do not have applications right now that tell us what interior tenants would be. Numerous parties have contacted me telling me of potential users that would be going in there, and I don't know that it's official until we've received building submissions. So while several users have announced they're coming to town, you will see that in lots of local papers. It's always interesting for staff when they announce they're going to be opening up in June and still haven't applied for an interior building permit. The state plumbing review will require 8 to 12 weeks. So that's outside of the city review and we have no control over it. So I don't know fully what's going in there yet. We don't have interior permits. It's all been shell thus far.
Thank you.
So,
It appears the corner is being built interior.
Interior shell can be built, but interior actual plans have not been fully submitted for that site yet. So interior walls can go in. They have an idea of where their tenant spaces were going to be, but that's part of the original shell permit, not a tenant permit that has been submitted.
All right. Anybody else?
Caveat, unless it was one of the ones last week.
What's that?
Unless it was one of the ones that was submitted in the last week that I haven't seen yet.
Oh,
So the Parcel
Those are all
Organics?
Okay. Haley had reviewed those, and she believes those are all residential.
Oh. So Parcel Organics, that was just in the, you don't, we don't. it's
I've
coming
heard
to
about them
Wayzata?
for
Yeah.
probably since February or March.
Okay.
I
But
do
you
not
don't
know
know
where
where.
they're
Okay.
necessarily going. We've encouraged, in fact, I've spoken with their broker to reach out to me.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
Move to approve?
all right. Anything else? Meeting schedule was attached. Next meeting in 2 weeks.
May 4th.
All right.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Motion to adjourn from somebody.
So moved.
Perfect. Thank you, Commissioner Planton. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Severson. Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion is approved, and the April 20th, 2026 meeting of the Wayzata Planning Commission is adjourned.